We've all been there once, haven't we? Driving along the road until what we see is really strange. Anything unexpected that makes us quickly turn around. What is this? Who did this? And sometimes why on earth would someone buy it? The discussion concerns cars, in particular, the memorable monster Pontiac Aztek. Was it created to transport cellos or what? The automobile world is a diverse and ever-changing industry filled with countless innovative car designs. But it has also experienced some bizarre patterns that have elicited many raised eyebrows. Well, here's a look at some of the weirdest and unique cars ever made. 1. P-Car. This flamboyantly green car, commissioned by Bird's Eye, the company that produces frozen vegetables, to advertise their 2005 television commercial, will make even the most stubborn person start eating green. It is popularly known as the Volkswagen P-Car, but in reality, it is a composite car created by Asylum, a London-based firm. The P-Car was made from an off-road go-kart and has the headlights of a VW Beetle with a Honda engine. The car lacks gears. The vehicle can achieve an approximate maximum speed of 60 miles per hour and was designed to be dismantled on screen. If you're interested in giving peas a chance, then P-Car is said to be on exhibit at Unilever Ice Cream and Frozen Foods Colorado, Walton-on-the-Thames, England site. When you see the P-Car at first, you would probably think that it looks like an old model Volkswagen. This is because its lights are sourced or adopted from that company's iconic Beetle. However, this is all that was borrowed from Volkswagen. A design that is quite out of the ordinary has been made possible by fitting Lancia indicators and wing mirrors, for which they had to look for a place that sells them specifically. The rest of the material used to construct this car, including its body panels, was made of custom-made fiberglass. The ad car was expected to take 6 weeks to complete and was intentionally made to disintegrate while driving. It was designed to fall apart when it moved. It had a P-shaped body that had 12 green-colored paint panels that could be detached from it for purposes such as sunroof, doors, hubcaps, rear bumper, wing mirror, and exhaust pipe. 2. 1964 Austin Mini Moke. The Austin Mini Moke was produced by the British Army in 1964, more or less like the US Army Jeep, but they refused it for being too short. It was available in England, Portugal, and Australia as a front-wheel drive model. In a short time, the British Motor Corporation stopped production of the car because it was not successful despite some liking it. The Austin Mini Moke lacked doors and a hardtop, which is neither useful nor fun. Although marketed as a recreational and farm-use light off-road vehicle, only 10% of the 14,500 produced were sold locally in the end. More comfortable seats and greater ground clearance in succeeding models of Moke attracted more buyers than before. Today, the Moke is produced as an electric vehicle at only slightly less than $21,000. In 1959, it was in the plans of the British Motor Corporation BMC for a military vehicle that was compact to be made out of the original Mini. Good fortune was on their side, for Sir Alec Asigonis, who designed the classic Mini, had some unfinished business along those lines. He had previously designed a parachute deployable amphibious Nuffield Gutty, which failed terribly before he came up with the idea for the Mini. Asigonis was conscious of transforming the Mini's innovative small design, in particular its transverse engine and rubber suspension, from the likes of Moulton, into something useful for which it had been known: a van, a pickup, a motorhome, or even an ice cream van. It's no wonder anyone would have chosen the Mini. Alongside John Shepard, who worked at BMC as a designer and had previously participated in the creation of the first Mini, they introduced an inexpensive car without doors nicknamed the Buckboard. Despite massive earnings expected in future years, they had already made some of its initial models when the first Minis began being manufactured. This did not mean that its manufacture was already in process. In the years 1959 to 1963, there was continuous designing and redesigning of the vehicle model to fit into the requirements of the British Army. The intention behind removing most of the Mini parts from the Moke was not only for display purposes, but also because it was designed to be stackable. As such, many of them could be stacked up one over another. These heaps of automobiles would have to be lightweight enough for them to be airlifted and dropped by parachute. People could carry the car to safety by picking it up if they ever got stuck in the mud. A mass-produced version would have been easy to make because it would be based on the Mini, which was essentially a pressed steel sheet with box sections for chassis. 3. 1970 AMC Gremlin. One advertisement for the Gremlin said, "If you can afford a car, you can afford 2 Gremlins. Why would anyone even want one?" The Gremlin was an AMC Hornet, with the back removed to beat its competitors into production, making it into this odd-shaped little car instead of a normal one whose name was never appropriate given what it looked like, thus consciously designed not to appear as a popular model. The Gremlin was offered in 2-passenger and 4-passenger versions. Fittingly introduced on April 1st, the cargo space is accessed by lifting the rear window in the 2-door version instead of a trunk or even hatchback. Even though it's hard to believe if there was any cargo space left at all, the 4-door version nonetheless has a fixed rear window because they crammed in 2 extra seats. It was reported that both Bill Clinton and George W. Bush owned one at some point, but that did not stop them from ridiculing it. When it was first built in 1970, the AMC Gremlin was an ugly car, as well as a surprisingly low-cost vehicle priced at less than $2,000. The car's exterior lived up well to its name. People simply took Hornets with a hacksaw, then they used a crude method of somehow unfolding it at the head section, hoping desperately that nobody among American citizens would ever understand this gas-guzzling shoddy machine for what it truly represented. From April 1st, 1970 up to 1978, 671,475 Gremlins were made at different factories scattered across both America and part of Canada. Introduced and designed by Teague, while one might consider it either as cute or controversial, others found it most suitable for the liberal-minded 70s Americans who seemed to be confident that the name Gremlin could not be associated with anything negative. 4. 1999 Fiat Multipla. President Clinton's impeachment, Napster introduction, and the Pontiac Aztek were some of the things 1999 brought us. Another thing that took place this year was the Fiat Multipla, an automobile possibly worse looking than the sports car mentioned earlier. Its design did not do much to make much impression on anyone, having only 2 rows, each having 3 seats made out of rectangular boxes, providing roomy luggage areas enough for comfortable traveling. Not made for sale here, it has 2 rows of 3 seats in a rectangular shape that provides ample space for bags. Some people say it looks like a muffin top, while others regard its haphazardly positioned headlamps as reminiscent of an insect. In addition, huge windows provide high visibility, unless one feels shy driving such a vehicle. Moreover, if one needed more places where they could hide their belongings from the oversized glass openings, they would find 2 compartments for gloves. It was not surprising that this model ceased being manufactured in 2003. The front had a stair design. It had 1 step for the front bumper, 1 more for the bonnet, and an extra for a crossbar with 2 lamps. The last one faced a steeply inclined windscreen. The other parts were a rectangular prism with round edges and a vertical drop-off behind the tailgate. The rear had a weird appearance due to its fog, main, and stationary lights forming its 3rd pair. You could fit as many as 6 in there, each with their spot. The way to do this was to lift the gear stick from its traditional position on the floor and place it in the middle of the panel. Inside this panel, there was a combination of the instrument cluster, the HVAC controls, along the sound system itself. Under the hood, Fiat left ample space that could accommodate virtually any type of engine it had in stock. Even with these options available, however, you could only get either petrol or diesel variants paired exclusively with 5-speed manual transmissions. 5. Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. One thing is for sure, when you see the Wienermobile on the road, there will be no lack of enthusiasm if there is a child who is less than 12 years old in the car. The first ever Oscar Mayer Wienermobile came into existence in 1936 as a marketing strategy by Karl Mayer. However, the company Oscar Mayer withdrew all its car fleet in 2020 following the COVID-19 pandemic, where there were 6 functioning Wienermobile at all time. Picture driving a hot dog that is 27 feet long following the leading protocols during the pandemic while in transit. Every single Wienermobile originates from a Chevrolet L96 6.0-liter V8 engine industrial truck, also known as an Isuzu NPR. It comprises 6 plush mustard and ketchup-colored cushions. Sorry, there are no actual hot dogs inside the vehicle, although you can get yourself some toy sausages or maybe a much-desired coveted wiener whistle. The best part is that Oscar has a website that anybody can go to and ask for the Wienermobile to visit them whenever they want to visit. Several brand autos that are designed like a hot dog put on a bun named Wienermobile are normally driven about the United States of America to promote and market Oscar Mayer products. Carl G. Mayer, who happens to be a nephew to Oscar Mayer, came up with the first Wienermobile in 1936. At some point in 2023, it was rebranded Frank Mobile, however its original name was returned due to popular demand. From the original 1936 vehicle made by Karl Mayer, the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile has changed a lot up to the present road vehicles. However, even though the first Wienermobile was scrapped for the metal in the 1940s to assist the U.S. Army during World War II, Oscar Mayer and Gerstenslager Company made some more vehicles using either a Dodge chassis or a Willys Jeep chassis in the 1950s. The model of 1952 is to be found in Dearborn, Michigan at the Henry Ford Museum. 6. 1921 Liat Helica. Car designers had lots of ideas in the early years. Marcel Liat, a Frenchman and biplane designer, thought that cars were too heavy and not aerodynamic. He also considered it unnecessary to have power-driven wheels with a transmission, rear axle, and clutch because they increased the weight of the vehicle. What did he come up with? A propeller-powered vehicle with no wings. Helica possessed an 18 HP 1000cc Harley-Davidson V-twin engine, and its body was made of slim and weightless plywood of 550 points. The wheels meant to counteract air resistance were personalized aluminum discs that also served as a braking system. It was believed that some funders did not provide enough money or support for the project, resulting in building less than 30 pieces while others remained unsold. Historically, Helica had a record speed of 106 mph in 1927, but did not do well because most people thought it was dangerous to ride in a moving machine with an open propeller. Liat was born in France in 1885. During his public introduction to wings for biplanes, he started an aviation profession. That was when he started structuring the first airplane in 1909. Nevertheless, he could not complete it due to a lack of finances since air travel was under the control of military forces during those periods. This prompted him to abandon airplanes and join the automotive sphere. His innovation of shaping the wind to imitate an airplane included creating a body of wood and aluminum wheels for lightness. According to him, the name of his invention was Helica, a derivation from the French word hélice for a propeller. Liat's Helica weighed just 600 pounds, which is less than half the weight of Model T. Its fuel consumption was 48 miles per gallon while still managing a more than 100 miles per hour velocity on an 18-horsepower engine. During the Paris Auto Show in 1921, Eileen chose the venue to unveil it, where some people were very enthusiastic about it. You most likely already know some weaknesses of the initial helicopter. First, the driver had poor visibility due to a large propeller, and passengers experienced strong winds all the time while flying fast. Moreover, if anything was hit by revolving blades, it was very risky because in accidents they became fragments made from metal cutting through vehicles. 7. Tesla Cybertruck. At one time, we put the Tesla Cybertruck in our list of strange cars, and I will repeat what was said then. Crowds seem to either adore or abhor this car. Tesla calls it Cybertruck, better utility than a truck with more performance than a sports car. In terms of its performance, 1, 2, or 3 electric engines will be installed inside that car to increase acceleration from 0 to 60 mph in under 3 seconds. It possesses an exoskeleton built from ultra-hard 30x cold, rolled stainless steel structural skin, and its windows are composed of Tesla armor glass, an ultra-strong glass and polymer layered composite capable of absorbing impact force. With over 14,000 pounds of towing capacity and 100 cubic feet of exterior storage to boot, Tesla has hit the utility nail right on the head. Thanks to its polarizing design, which is meant to suggest something tough yet one of a kind at the same time, Cybertruck has become so popular among drivers right through. The electric pickup, however, arrives in an intense truck market, where car makers want to outdo their rivals in terms of functionality and characteristics. It has a unique trapezoid exterior design borrowed from the movie Blade Runner, and a stainless steel alloy exoskeleton that has never been seen in the traditional pickup market before, surpassing the common features of most pickups on the road today. The rear-wheel drive base variant is estimated to be able to cover about 250 miles of range, while the all-wheel drive and Cyberbeast models can do 340 miles and 320 miles each. The top 2 models can even travel more based on the availability of a range extender, which takes up around 30% of the truck's bed area. It is made for long distances, or taking heavy loads up mountains, CEO Elon Musk explained on X. Tesla's top-notch Cyberbeast Cybertruck can reach a speed of 60 miles per hour in 2.6 seconds, leaving behind many sports vehicles. During one of his shows, Musk displayed a video showing the electric vehicle overtaking the Porsche 911 in a drag race while towing another one of the same model. Moreover, it has a towing capacity of 11,000 pounds, similar to that of Rivian R1T, but a bit higher than the 10,000 pounds tow capacity that Ford's F-150 Lightning and GM Silverado EV have. The Cybertruck is the first car in the US, since the DMC DeLorean of Back to the Future fame, to use a stainless steel body, and it also has armor glass that can resist the impact of a baseball at 70 miles per hour or Class 4 hail. Musk said the doors are bulletproof to .45 caliber 9mm rounds. He showed a video demonstrating the capability to the audience at the event in Austin, Texas. 8. 1942 Youth Electrique. While some people believe that electric cars are the way forward, not much has been said about alternative fuel automobiles too. Only one LUF electric egg concept car was ever manufactured, and its origin is traced back to a French industrial designer named Paul Arzens. The designation of egg car was soon attached to this unique car, as it was seen driving around Paris in 1942 and was likely the first bubble car. Arzens initially decided to build internally combustible vehicles that included cars and railway locomotives, but he ended up producing an electric car during WWII due to the scarcity of gasoline. This car is a small three-wheeled vehicle with an electric battery and engine that runs for just 5 hours on each charge with a speed of 45 miles per hour. The car had an aluminum and plexiglass body but weighed only 771 pounds with a motor and batteries in it. The shape was so unusual that there was a 270-degree view of the outside. This car can still be seen today because it has been preserved at the site des Automates in Mulhouse, France. During the Paris WWII occupation, Arzens gathered the materials to construct this 90 kg electric motor-powered reverse trike, with 30 kg for the electric motor used to power the rear wheel and 260 kg for the 5 batteries, making a total of 350 kg, which matched the weight of cycle cars before the outbreak of World War II. This car wasn't painted, and because it was made of aluminum, there was no danger of it rusting the way steel cars rust. The 2 plexiglass doors and curved windscreen provided excellent visibility from the cabin, which was unprecedented in small cars of the time. The batteries provided a range of 100 kilometers, 63 miles, with a top speed of 60 km per hour, 44 miles per hour with the driver alone, or 60 kilometers per hour, 37 mph with the driver and 1 passenger. After the war, a single-cylinder 125cc 2-stroke internal combustion engine 5.5 HP using petrol replaced the electrical motor with a top speed of 80 km/h by Peugeot. 9. 1961 Amphicar. Flying cars that can take off exist only in our imagination as of now. In 1961, however, someone could own a car which doubled up as a boat at the same time. In addition to this, the 1961 Amphicar was fitted with a duo of propellers which would speed it up to 7 knots when cruising. Throughout its production years, this amphibious vehicle, which was built in Germany between 1961 and 1967, used its front wheels as steering wheels while driving itself on water, and became the most successful non-military amphibious car of all time, with only 4,000 pieces ever produced. However, not many more of these were bought due to the high costs and poor performance on land and water. President Lyndon B. Johnson was one of the most well-known owners of an Amphicar. From 1961 to 1968, the Amphicar was built in Germany. A total of 3,878 Amphicar vehicles were produced. It was the only civilian amphibious passenger car ever mass-produced from the beginning of time. The United States imported 3,046 Amphicars between 1961. The Amphicar has a rear engine fitted with a 4-cylinder Triumph Herald engine of British manufacture which was capable of producing 43 HP. All of the civilian Amphicars were convertibles, originally being painted in just 4 colors, namely beach sand white, regatta red, lagoon blue, and fjord green. The basic electricity system of the Amphicar is a Lucas 12-volt positive ground system with some components like the horn, switches, and lights which were produced by other producers, such as Hella and Bosch. 10. 1981 DeLorean DMC-12. The car is referred to as the DeLorean, but it is more specifically known as the DeLorean DMC-12 because of the movie franchise known as Back to the Future. Created by an Italian designer famed in the automobile industry, Giorgetto Giugiaro. This sports car is made of stainless steel material and to date still retains a modern look, despite being over 40 years old. John DeLorean used to work at General Motors Corporation, where he climbed up the corporate ladder before quitting and writing a book that divulged all the company's secrets after quitting. He made a vow to create a unique sports car, and at last fulfilled his pledge in 1981 when he introduced the prototypes of the DMC-12, a wedge-shaped vehicle that looked completely different from other vehicles. Over 8,000 units of DMC-12s were assembled before its bankruptcy, brought about majorly by lawsuits on its founder, as well as decreased revenue caused by slow demand in the market. The DeLorean DMC-12 is a revolutionary sport. Built back in 1981 to 1983, sporting gull-wing doors and stainless steel body panels. Should have been the commercial coup of the century with massive worldwide sales and all that, but the market interest dried out within just 2 years. The primary reason the DMC-12 didn't sell was business-related. Even though DeLorean was a skilled entrepreneur who had acquired formidable engineering and management skills in the dog-eat-dog car-making industry in America, especially during the development of the Pontiac Firebird and GTO muscle cars, which were famous at that time. In 1975, General Motors, his employer, declined to sponsor the successor. As a result, he established the DeLorean Motor Company and constructed the DMC-12, a futuristic car for the American market, using a Porsche model that was never put into production for the design. 11. 1997 to 2002 Plymouth Prowler. The Plymouth Prowler, later rebadged the Chrysler Prowler, was a contemporary reimagining of the 1932 Ford Hot Rod, characterized by leading cycle fenders that just embraced the front wheels while leaving the suspension on display. It had a convertible cab with 2 seats and a windshield that sloped rearward. The Plymouth Prowler's Roadster was built using several Chrysler components, such as the underpowered V6, which was borrowed from the company's lineup of LH sedans. Its transmission was also sourced from some LH cars, but it happened to be mounted on the Prowler's rear axle. Another example includes the steering column, originating from one of Dodge's minivans, and lastly being paired with suspension parts taken off a Viper manufactured by Dodge. There wasn't any manual transmission, just a 4-speed automatic with an autostick manual shifter when the Plymouth Prowler was widespread in the market, made from a lot of strong, light aluminum. The Prowler was such a small car that the manufacturer produced a trailer that matched it and allowed you to carry enough luggage and foodstuffs for a weekend. Despite being celebrated for both its style and success, the Prowler never really caught on. It was manufactured only between 1997 and 2002, and then sold with the Chrysler badge after the closure of its parent company Plymouth. 12. 2020 Polaris Slingshot. Classifying the 2020 Polaris Slingshot has been a challenge. In fact, even the DMV isn't sure if it's a car or a motorcycle. Although its group is uncertain, the Polaris Slingshot is a fun machine to ride, especially given its excellent handling and powerful acceleration. The Polaris Slingshot comes fitted with a pair of front wheels which are separated by quite a decent distance. One wheel is at the back. An open top is provided, making driving around in this machine an open-air experience. Wearing a helmet is mandatory while riding in certain states. The engine makes 203 HP from a 4-cylinder plant. It can be coupled with either a manual or automatic gear system. It could be fitted with other car-like features such as heated cooling seats, cruise control, and an infotainment display measuring 7 inches. In 2020, the product line of Slingshot underwent some serious changes. The 2020 Slingshot line arrived in the market with radical new machines. The recently introduced motorcycle style was built on a tubular space frame, similar to the one used in an old Ducati, but enlarged and enveloped with new angular Batmobile-looking bodywork. 13. 1935 Stout Scarab. Chrysler is acknowledged as the originator of the minivan, and Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid is one of the premium ones you can purchase today. Nevertheless, the idea dates back way before the first Dodge Caravan to the 1935 Stout Scarab. Just 9 Stout Scarabs were manufactured, which made the ones that remained quite popular among car collectors. The well-furnished interior of the Scarab accommodated up to 6 passengers. Wicker made the headliner, while polished wood was used as accents. Even a small table had been put up there for comfort purposes. These middle seats also swiveled by 180 degrees, enabling someone to set up an office in their vehicle then. William Bushnell Stout, the designer of the Stout Scarab car, was a Ford Motor Company executive and had worked on the most successful plane of that time, the Ford Tri-Motor. The original minivan in the world. Few titles in the automotive world are as unsexy as that. Except if you are the 1930 Stout Scarab. The aerodynamic, Art Deco, head-turning multi-passenger vehicle created ripples 80 years ago. It remains potent. The Scarab car was designed and made by William B. Stout, an engineer who not only gave it the appearance of a beetle but also made it represent the Egyptians' belief concerning this flying insect as a symbol of rebirth or renewal. Indeed, it would seem that Bill Stout had been reborn and renewed many times over, long before he built the car. Even before unveiling his groundbreaking 1934 and 39 automotive innovation, Stout had already been working as the leading mechanical engineer at Shermere Motor Truck Company, an editor specializing both in cars and airplanes for the Chicago Tribune, and the principal engineer at Scripps Booth Automobile Company. Packard Motor Car Company president Alvin McCallie coaxed Stout from Scripps Booth in 1916 and appointed him the head engineer in the aviation section of Packard. Stout left 3 years later to establish an engineering company in Dearborn, Michigan. 14. 1948 Tucker 48. One story the U.S. car market can't forget is about Preston Tucker and his dream of manufacturing the 1948 Tucker 48. Preston Tucker is known for his 1948 Tucker 48. Some people call it the Tucker Torpedo, and this car has certain design aspects which are being adopted by many auto manufacturers. Tucker fabricated the automobile with protection in mind by adding a full perimeter frame for the passengers and a roll bar to save them from crashing. Like the modern adaptive headlights, its central front light turned to light up the surroundings when it went around corners. To ensure the driver's safety, the car had a cushioned dashboard and the steering column was cushioned too to protect them from injuries in case of an accident. The windshield of Tucker's fastback sedan was made of shatterproof material. Tucker Company made only 51 cars, 47 of which still exist. The narrative behind both Tucker and his vision is documented in a movie that was directed by Francis Ford Coppola. By the conclusion of World War II, the largest three auto manufacturers, including Ford, Chevrolet, and General Motors, did not have newly designed models but instead used their resources to support the war. This created an opportunity for many smaller and lesser-known brand manufacturers. The Tucker Car Corporation was established by Preston Tucker with great expectations of ushering in a new era for motor cars from the 1940s mid-decade. The Tucker 48 was considered to be a technological marvel at the time and referred to as the car of tomorrow by Preston Tucker himself. It featured many revolutionary safety features that hadn't been seen before. These included a windshield that would entirely pop out in an accident so as not to shatter all over the passengers, and a large space in place of the front dash where the passengers could conceivably duck into during an accident. The Tucker 48 was considered a technological marvel, a car of tomorrow by Preston Tucker. The car had many never-seen-before revolutionary safety features. For example, a windshield that was supposed to pop out completely in case of an accident so that it didn't shatter on the passengers, and a large space on the front dash that the passengers could duck into during an accident. 15. A. Vision Mercedes Simplex. This list has only a few concept cars, however. The 2019 Vision Mercedes Simplex needs to be added here. It is a tribute to the race car of 1901 that bore the Mercedes name for the first time and has been rebuilt with the current technological advances in materials. The original Mercedes 35 PS race car brought an end to the carriage-like designs of other vehicles, occupying a front engine structure with its motor situated low inside the chassis and a two-passenger bench behind it. Vision Mercedes Simplex has a digital display with rose gold rims. This screen can either display the original Mercedes logo written in the script or give information on the vehicle's alternative fuel powertrain. These days, concept cars are extremely complicated machines that incorporate sophisticated technologies and features. They are mostly designed for the future. And this is why Mercedes-Benz's most recent concept represents a departure from this tradition by trying to make things simpler. This design is meant to portray a modern-day version of the Mercedes 35 PS, which was produced in 1901, with less complication and more plain tribute, but a lot of its futuristic touches. When the concept catches one's attention and is considered for a moment, it is clear that it is part of a history that goes further back than the present decade. Though the external tires and unshielded mechanical gears resemble those of a sci-fi movie called Minority Report, the rest of its appearance portrays a two-seater car in the traditional sense, yet it provides enough room for two and has a small luggage bag at the rear. However, though one would see an old Mercedes badge at first glance, the piece is also full of 21st century bits such as touches of rose gold. This isn't like the usual new cars that we see today. Still, chances are slim that it might ever be produced due to thousands of rules that govern the building of any car you see on the road. On the flip side, however, it provides an eye-opening illustration of how designs might diverge from restrained conformities when automaker artists are permitted to swing the lead. We desire an extra share of such instances in the coming days.